That Comic Podcast.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to That Comic Podcast. I'm your host, Minty. And with me, as always, are my wonderful sidekicks. First, Mr. Mashko.
Hey, can I kick it?
Sometimes. And then there's P. Features.
Hello, Internet.
Faster.
Sounded good. We got a lot of people to
Faster.
get through. I'm trying to get through this. And then there's Buzz. Baby Huey's going to be playing producer, but I'm sure he's going to pipe in every once in a while. But somebody who hasn't been on a show we've done in, I don't know, 6 years, maybe longer, but could not believe we got him back and could not believe the weekend that we've had with him recently, the infamous Paul Euler Brown. And for those...
That was what that was. I was just sitting right there. Sorry.
It was
And
good
for those
for
that
YouTube.
are listening, he pulled up a camera. Well, welcome to the show, buddy. It's nice for you to be on the next iteration of Fireside. It's good seeing you.
All the iterations. I'm always here, whether I'm seen or not.
But yeah, so this is going to be a somewhat interesting show. You've obviously been following along. We've been talking about Super Jersey Comic Expo quite a bit, and we talked about what our experiences were at the convention, and then Paul took a listen to our show and was like, if you want the real story, I'm willing. And I was like, oh my God, yes. I very much want to hear what the real story is. So we definitely have that to look forward to. But before we get into that, we have to talk Thunderbolts. And then we've got some kind of hodgepodge news with Deadpool and X-Men and some stuff with Hawkeye. But before all of that stuff, we have all seen Thunderbolts, yes?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So spoiler review from this point out. I mean, all right, let's do a real quick round robin. 2 seconds. What'd you think? No spoilers, and then everybody can have their moment to skip ahead. Why don't we start with you, Paul? 2 seconds. What you got? No spoilers.
Hilarious and depressing.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Moshko.
Way better than I expected, but I went in with low expectations.
All right, Features.
I said it was a sleeper hit, and I was right.
Buzz.
I loved it, man. I think we're back.
Huey.
Loved it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you guys. All right, that's it. At this point, spoiler alert, you've been warned. Spoiler wordings are in effect. I'm going to ruin the hell out of this movie. So I don't want to start this way, but seems like everybody doesn't want to word it in any other way. Is the MCU back?
Yes.
I don't think it ever left, but yeah, it's back.
No, I'm with Team Features. I honestly, that question bothers me.
Features.
Yeah.
It
Aren't we
does.
all team
Yeah.
features?
Are we all Team Features?
I mean, I would hope.
No. But what do you think, Moshko? Is it back, or are you still on the fence?
I mean, it's the best thing that's from a movie standpoint that's come out in a couple of years at this point. So I don't necessarily want to say we ever left, but this has been the best thing since, I guess, if you want to put the Spider-Man movie up there. I know I didn't enjoy that
Or
that
Deadpool,
much,
Wolverine,
but
but whatever.
yeah.
Yeah, let's
The
not.
MCU's just been disjointed.
Yeah.
And I know everyone is going to say after Endgame, but if you think about it, after Endgame, all the TV shows started popping out. So you're not just going to the movies anymore with an event. You're trying to keep up with plot lines on TV shows that could be within the movies, but we don't know if it is. And then they're pulling in all the characters. And, it used to just be go to the movies for like 11 years.
Yes, I completely agree.
And now you're being ping pong back and forth between streaming and sporadic movies, and I don't know. I kind of miss the days of the simpler MCU.
And I think the days of the simpler MCU was always around. I just think that the audience has changed a little bit, and I hate to be that person because I am not a big fan of blaming the fans, but it does seem like we are way pickier on what we consider good in the MCU. We are really reaching for the fences on what's considered bad and what's considered good recently, and it blows my mind when people go into things that I was like, wow, that was pretty good, and they're just like, that was the worst thing I've ever seen. Like there are still so many people who are saying that Thunderbolts is a flop, and I'm thinking, like, this is one of the best movies I've seen, but it's your usual suspects, the same people. Still shocked that the people against this movie are so vehemently against it, even when it's been as good as it has been. Right? This is, I would argue, top 10 MCU movies made at all. Like, this is maybe even high top 10, like maybe 6, 7.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Like,
I was kind of feeling like it had that Civil War effect. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Coalesced characters together again in a cohesive way. That's what's been disjointed. Is that like you wrote the end credit scenes are supposed to line up, and they had like taken a break from it, and so now they're back to doing that. So this is the time to, And I thought about it on the way out. I'm like, yeah, all the characters are under the same imprint of Marvel. So at this point, they are all in the same universe, whether you think they are or not.
Yeah,
So this is how they do that.
I completely agree. Oh, and I also think Mashko makes a good point when he said that he went in with low expectations, and because no one really had high hopes for Thunderbolts, that this could be the sleeper that features set. It had that opportunity, like the Guardians effect, where no one really knew enough about the characters, and especially those who skipped Disney Plus really had nothing to go on. So there wasn't as much for expectations on what something should be opposed to what they got. Because what they got, I thought, was just like Paul said, it was beautifully depressing and funny at the same time. I mean, it's an allegory for depression if there's ever been one. And I think they handled it beautifully. I can't really give you many negatives except for maybe in the middle it slumped a little bit. Like it was a little slow for just a portion in the middle, but not as bad as everyone's been saying it is.
That's
You had
amazing.
a lot of characters that were sort of along the same plot line, but in their own different way. And so they all kind of met together. They seamlessly put it together, rather than just putting like a group of characters together just for the hell of it. You know what I mean? Like they seamed it up.
Pretty much every character got their moment, though. I mean, the only person I thought was underutilized was Ghost, other than Taskmaster. That's a whole different story. But that's a whole different
I wonder why.
That's a whole different
Love
story.
Taskmaster.
Ghost was surprisingly a lot of fun. I just felt that she was the only character that didn't really get as much character work as the rest did. She felt kind of underutilized, except for the MacGuffin to open some doors. That was her big role in the movie, was open a door here and open a door there.
Yeah.
But even then, I liked her way more than I liked her in Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It took me a minute to remember what she was actually from. It's like, wait, oh,
Someone
yeah.
someone told me once when they were talking about the Thunderbolts, they said if you like the Avengers, you're gonna love this movie. And then thinking back on it, like you said, everybody had their own kind of moment in that movie. If you think back to the Avengers film, like even the first one, everyone had a moment, and then they came together for like one big fight at the end. And that's almost how the Thunderbolts played out, but it was, barring its different characters in a different feel and almost kind of not a real villain, but yes, a villain.
Well, I also think that they knew that people weren't as keen on this as other teams in the past. Like they were like, especially here, big reveal, especially when the new Avengers pops up at the end.
Yeah.
All of the banners, or excuse me, all the fake news headlines were like, everyone, nope, not my Avengers. And everybody had the same reaction. We're like, new Avengers. Dark Avengers. But all right, new. All right, we'll go there. But I think they knew that ahead of time, and I think that was the point. I think that's why that really nice the credit sequence that came up with all those headlines was just to make sure that people like myself would go, oh no, I'm represented in that. Okay, cool.
But say you take away the ability for someone to make fun of you, and it just makes you, unstuck. They took it away from everyone. They said it before everyone did. So now when you say it, it's like, it's in the credits. We know. Yeah.
Well, and it's almost kind of that way with the idea of Sentry being in the movie. Like they were pretty on the cuff with lines like, all we do is punch and shoot, and you're like, well, that's what everyone said when they announced Sentry.
Yeah.
Everybody had the same idea going into, like, how is it possible that they pull this movie off? But I gotta say, Sentry was handled beautifully.
Dude, I'm so happy they did not nerf him the way I thought they were just going to leave him as a basic, I fly, I'm super strong, and that's it. But they really made him seem very unstoppable. Like, as it was going, I tried to imagine what the Hulk in the MCU would do fighting that Sentry, and I was like, that feels like the Sentry would really take him out without a problem.
Well, MCU Hulk, yes.
Oh,
Unfortunately, we've seen that too many times with MCU Hulk. MCU Hulk isn't necessarily World Breaker Hulk. Go ahead.
Yeah,
It was funny. I was getting like a Dr. Manhattan moment, like when he was like realizing it at the end there. You know what I mean? It's like poetic justice for the storyline.
So let's first off, Yelena was the breakout star of that
Awesome.
movie. I mean,
Yes.
Absolutely.
100%.
Yes.
Florence Pugh was just incredible. The jump off the roof was small compared to her performance. While the jumping off the building was a big deal, and they kept showing that over and over and over in the trailers and such, the way she handled that character, who's trying her best to stay positive in moments where she really just couldn't, was so well executed that she felt. Her and her dad, Red Guardian, was also beautifully portrayed throughout that. I think David Harbour handled that wonderfully. Go ahead, Huey.
I said that when I came out of the theater, so I went and saw it with my sister and my girlfriend, and I said Red Guardian was the heart, and Florence Pugh is the soul.
I would give you that.
I dig it.
I would give you
Yeah,
that.
that feels about right.
I thought that was, go ahead.
Minzy, I wanted to ask you, as it was going to that first couple scenes with Florence Pugh, did you feel like we should have got like the happy bar from out the comics?
Oh, I was.
It made me think of that immediately.
I was a little annoyed we didn't get that White Widow. I was okay. So for anybody who's not sure what he's referring to, there was a short White Widow run that was about 4 issues where it was Yelena coming out of the Red Room and trying to discover herself, and she really just wanted to create a list of things that she likes and doesn't like. And throughout the whole book, there's always a meter above her head on what she's enjoying and what she's not, and it's so beautifully done that we kind of got it. Like when she pulls the hamster out and she kept the hamster. Like there were those kind of moments, but it wasn't appropriate for who her character was at the time, and that part is what comes through each of them. Like a lot of them keep trying to pretend that they're not as upset as they actually are with the life that they're leading. And I thought no one did that better than U.S. Agent.
Yeah.
I thought Wyatt Russell did a great job. He was still just as douchey as you would expect him to be. You know what I mean? He was exactly as you wanted him to be, but he became so much more relatable. Especially, and Paul, you can tell me this more than most. As a newer father, that I've heard fathers say that scene with him strolling on his phone was one of the most real moments in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Oh God! I was literally looking over at my wife to make sure she wasn't scowling at me when that scene came up. Because it is, when I obviously became a father very late in life, 35 I think it was, and 36 actually, 36, and and it's hard because you don't realize for a while that there is this little human that you have that lives on your every movement, on your every emotion. And even now my 2 sons are 4.5 and 2, and it's like you get lost. You're so tired and you just want to catch up on things, even though you don't need to while your children are right there. You literally have to catch yourself, physically stop yourself from doing it. And I was very bad at it because all of my work is on my phone, and it's so difficult to break away just by a little bit. But I keep reminding myself, when I was their age, I didn't have that. There was no father there at their age when I was growing up, and did it change the way I turned out? Hopefully not for the worse, but I don't want to take those memories away from me that I can then retell them, because I never heard those things growing up, so, oh God, it was so real. I was like,
Yeah, it got me.
My sister was hitting my brother-in-law, smacking him.
Yeah, it's a real thing.
I have a brand new niece.
Scene
and
was for the moms.
Yeah.
That scene was put in there for mothers, if anything at all, because it is so true.
What were you saying, Buzz?
Oh, I was just saying that I spent a lot of time in that place where U.S. Agent was.
Yeah. Well, and
So
there was the
definitely,
fact that he was reading a negative article about himself.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Just lost in his own turmoil, forgetting what's around him. Each of those characters had those moments. Even Val had that when she touches the Sentry, and we see that heartbreaking scene where she accidentally leads to the death of her father, and you're just like, wow, they do a really good job within 15 seconds of making you really feel for these characters that you've despised.
Right.
At no point is Contessa somebody you care about.
Right.
And then that moment hits, and you're like, all right, a little bit. a little bit.
Yeah.
So they do a great job, but I do think that Sentry is the coolest part of the movie.
You gotta have a cool new part to this stuff.
Well, and just how they handled him, because he was an impossible task. there was no way in the world that team was going to win. And when Florence Pugh turns into what they call it, being voided. What
Voided.
They've been saying they're getting voided when she gets all shadowed.
Yeah.
I was shocked. I was like, oh damn, that didn't really just happen. But then I was like, all right, we're going Loki with this. She's ending up in the void, different void, but I get it.
Yeah.
Now, that was a unique kind of maze scene with them going through all of the different, shame moments of their life, and then going through all of Bob's. Do you think that was handled well, or was it very unvoidy? Because it didn't feel as voidy as I'm used to, but I kind of prefer it.
I think it was handled well. If you think about the void from a mental aspect as just being a dark place in people's minds, then yes, because everybody has those spots, and there's so many, because you're not just we focus on a lot of different things at one time. Like few of us probably dealt with depression. It's never just one singular thought or moment. But there's always one major one or one catalyst that really keeps you locked in and you're stuck on. And I think they really handled that well, because you went from one place to the next, and was even shocking more when she tried to stop it from happening. And it was like, no, this is going to happen the way it needs to happen. And then when she broke out and went to another section, it was just another dark space until she got to Bob, and he was like, no, this is the only nice room. Just a little bit of light here. It's good.
Well, that's what I mean. I don't mean necessarily how did they handle it as far as the story itself, because as far as the story, I think that was beautiful.
Right.
But when you think of especially the newer iterations of the Void being some kind of like almost demonic version of the Phoenix Force, that this entity that's globbed onto to Bob, that's, that tentacle-looking monster thing that pops out through the Void with the red. I kind of thought that when in the trailer she starts walking into the shadow area, that's how he was going to be portrayed. That you see him in the world and he's just the dark silhouette, but in the actual Void itself, he was going to be more of that, gnarly looking space alien thing.
I wish we'd have gotten that.
I don't know. I don't think I want it. Actually, I think they did such a good job. I don't want it.
They wanted to make it more the average viewer, to have that more relatable to them and to their personal experiences.
Yeah.
It's like you were saying earlier, like everybody has those situations where you just ruminate on it. You constantly think back to that one situation on how you can handle it multiple different ways, but the result is always the same thing. And that's kind of where this was.
These characters don't work without a human element, and they humanize them more than they ever have, like through the Void and through those experiences, and it unified them.
And honestly, showing it the way they did, it made it feel more like was it dissociative identity disorder? So it's still him, but it's like that dark version of him.
That's from the original Sentry book. I mean, as he's learning who he is in the original story arc, he starts to remember his major villain, the Void, and that's like a big twist in the story is when you find out the Void is actually him, which I thought was an interesting aspect, that he started fighting himself in the real world.
Yeah.
So the fact that he was already removed from himself, since that's such a big moment in so many books. I mean, think about just recently in King in Black when Null rips Void out of Sentry. You know what I mean? Like, or it almost kind of had a Magus feel to it in a weird way, like the Dark Magus.
Yeah.
Or
with Adam Warlock.
Thank you.
Yes.
Space Christ. So, I mean, I'm going to say, I know, Paul, you gave it an 8.5. I don't know. I might give it a little further than that. I think it's a solid 9, maybe 9.5.
I think I undercut it. Honestly, I was trying to come up with an immediate thought, and I let a little bit more time set in. I'm probably closer to a 9. I mean, like, the amount of just emotional weight I felt just watching each character, go through their journey, facing their own parts of their own good and evil, their past, their spotted past, and just watching them all haplessly and horrendously and messily as human beings come together at the end. And now the new Avengers. So here we are. We are officially post-Avengers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This thing we've been building up for 17 years now, 18 years now, it just shifted, I feel like, completely now.
Oh, and what it sets up for Doomsday is going to be really interesting. I mean, first off, New Avengers is definitely like Cortez is 100% playing Norman Osborn of the MCU. No question. This is Hammer taking over, creating the Dark Avengers. You know what I mean? It's just they use the New Avengers name because now you have the Avengers and the New Avengers. So it's very similar in that regard. At least that's where I think that's going. But then throwing the Fantastic Four, by the way, they kind of reveal that in the credits. That annoyed me a little bit. Yeah, they before the credits are finished. The song, you saw that too?
I saw that.
That annoyed the crap out of me. Where
I'm
it says the Fantastic Four theme. I'm like, when did they play the Fantastic Four theme?
And here it comes.
And there it is.
Wow.
One of you're talking about music for a second. One of the biggest takeaways from this that I like, the score to this movie was so good.
Yeah.
So good.
I looked into it a little bit. They had music playing for 99 minutes of the entire 124 minutes. So there was some type of backtrack to basically the whole movie. It was the guy, his son Lux. I don't know if you're familiar with that gentleman or person.
No, sir.
They did, what the heck was it? Everywhere, something all at once.
Everywhere.
Yes. I have that.
Yeah, they scored that one. And I guess like they really went out on a limb having this person do this movie, just because they do such weird things with their, orchestra.
There's something that you just kind of made me think of is two huge elements of this, how great this movie is. We've now been talking for a little over 20 minutes. None of us has brought up the fight scenes, and the action sequences were outstanding. But none of that meant as much to any of us that was something we were intrigued on talking about. Because action's going to be big in a Marvel
action's
movie.
not. I mean, take this for what it's worth and how I say it, but action isn't difficult. Giving meaning behind the characters is what's really hard in the story, to make the audience care about a group of individuals who, let's be honest, no one should really care about because they're not really heroes, but they are. I mean, that's the piece.
They're the
making it
Byronic
personal
characters.
Go ahead, Buzz.
An aspect of literature creating the Byronic character, a character that was never intended to be the main character of the hero. And then you have all these hodgepodge characters that are just floating around in this universe that we've been watching here and there. And somehow, some way, they were able to put them all together in one cohesive thing that all leaned on each other to make them what they were at the end, and then giving them the new title. It was a slam dunk for what everyone was expecting because of how discompartmentalized they all were before they got there.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think the other aspect that I think is pretty wild is that this is the only movie that in the MCU for a while that I'm actually excited to watch when it comes on streaming.
Yeah, same. Absolutely.
I didn't, as much as I liked Cap 4, didn't get it. I'm not too amped to watch it again. Guardians 3 I did. Deadpool Wolverine I did. But Black Panther 2, not so much.
There's a lot going on in each and every scene that you just can't pick up when you see it once. Like, you just can't pick it all up.
Yeah.
I think there's even more in this than we even realize.
Right.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I think it needs another watch. Go ahead, Huey.
Did you pick up in the beginning of the movie when Elena broke into the facility? You saw the shadows on the back wall.
Oh, they foreshadowed so much. I mean, the guinea pig is
foreshadow.
The guinea pig was Bob. I mean, she saved the guinea pig from the maze before the building blew up, just like she helped Bob out of the maze of his mind at the end. So the amount of foreshadowing they did throughout the whole movie is pretty wild. But I do think that, other than Yelena, because she's just outstanding, that Bob really was the best thing that Marvel has introduced in quite a while. And I'm very excited to see how they utilize him in Doomsday, because one scene I thought we were all going to get and we never got was good old tearing somebody in half. I know that's coming. That's got to happen somewhere. I don't know who, I don't know how, but someone's going to get torn in half. Now, who knows? Instead
Doom.
of... Well, no. He might not be wrong. Instead of Doom pulling out the spine of Thanos, right, that everyone kept saying, that's going to happen in Secret Wars. That's going to happen in Secret Wars. What if he actually pulls the Void out of Sentry? A la King in Black, since we're not getting the Null thing anymore.
Ooh.
And that would then real quick show you how powerful Doom is, which is what they're going to want to do and establish pretty fast.
Yeah.
So they all of a sudden have Sentry turn Sentry, and you think it's this big moment where they finally have the upper hand, and then whoop, and all of a sudden he's now powerless, and the Void is just lost in dark. I don't know what hell ever they play that.
That's not a yeah.
I don't know. Something there. There's something there. And I do think that the fight between the new Avengers and the Avengers is going to be fun, since we haven't seen Cap's Avengers yet. And, you kind of think that Nick Fury is not going to be too thrilled, because I'm sure Captain Marvel's on Cap's team.
Yes.
And he's still part of Saber, or whatever they're called. They took over Dunder Mifflin, right?
Yeah.
Sabre is how it's pronounced.
All right, well, Doomsday is a lot more exciting now because of how great this movie was. And honestly, when they were showing the chairs and they were like, and the Thunderbolts are going to be in it, all of us were like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, Sentry's going to be in it. That's cool. But, oh, cool, U.S. agent. All right. But after this, I want to see all of them a lot more.
Yes.
Yeah.
Are you way more excited for Fantastic Four now?
I've been pretty excited for Fantastic Four. in general.
Yeah, but can't lie, that end credit scene did. When it happened, I jumped out my seat. Was yes.
Well, it
Let's
cements
go.
everything I've been thinking. Everything everyone's been thinking about that movie, that they're all going to die. I still think it's going to be an incursion that kills everybody. But, I mean,
Yeah.
everyone's like, well, Galactus is going to win and eat the Earth. No, Galactus, they're going to stop Galactus, and they think that they actually won. But no, there's going to be an incursion right behind them, and the world's still going to blow up, and they have to leave their universe. And that's going to lead to a distraught Reed who's trying to figure out the answer of everything, going into the Council of Kangs, or Council of Reeds and all that jazz. So I love that they showed us the Fantastic Four showing up, but I kind of wish they would have saved that for Doomsday, because it kind of ruins Fantastic Four a little bit.
Yeah.
Right. They escape at the end.
And they need to escape at the end. Otherwise, why else would they be there?
Right.
But how?
How? Well,
That's the story.
Unfortunately, they ruined this in the first trailer, because they showed that big blackboard, and on that big blackboard there is a wormhole portal or wormhole diagram that says "Enter here, exit here, new universe." Probably should have put that in the trailer, and then shouldn't have had this as the post-credit tease if you want to keep your movie mysterious at all. But all right. All right, that's like showing Wolverine in Apocalypse. Remember that?
Oh yeah.
All of a sudden the claws came
yeah.
out. You're like, you didn't need it. Spider-Man showing up at the end in the Civil War trailer. Like, we don't got to do this.
Right.
We're going to see Fantastic Four. You don't need to do this.
Yeah.
You could have just had Cap. Could you imagine if this would have ended with Cap showing up at the facility they were at? Like, hey, Buck. And that was it? That was your end credit tease?
That would have been cool.
Would have been just enough. And it wouldn't
Yeah.
have ruined Fantastic Four. Just saying, I don't think it needed to happen, but that's just me.
I don't know if it ruined the Fantastic Four though. It just feels like a Tarantino flip. Like you show the end of something, and then we got to find out how we got there.
Which kind of ruins story in a little. It's okay.
The ending.
It's okay. It's all right. I know it going in. Who knows? It could be completely wrong. I mean, every time, what was the, what's the book right now that every time I think I know what's going on, it spits in my face?
Ultimate
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
Wow.
Every time I have a
Yeah.
guess on Ultimate Spider-Man, it spits on me.
Yeah.
So who knows? Maybe I'm entirely wrong. But all right. Well, any final thoughts on Thunderbolts? Anything we missed? Any moments that made you go, "We got to talk
Couple
about this"?
theories and rumors out there, but
What do you got?
the assistant to Contessa is Songbird.
Oh, I heard that.
Songbird.
Well, she has a bird
Really?
necklace, and her name's Mal, which is the character's name.
Yeah.
And she's an original Thunderbolt member, so you could go. I think that's a cool
And that
way
actress
to go.
is kind of up and coming, so to have her as just a side random character that will never appear again seems kind of silly.
But it's also
That was
kind of
actually
silly.
supposed to be the woman from The Bear. She was supposed to Io.
Oh, wow. So she came in last
Io, I
minute.
don't know how to say her
Adabiri.
name right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, she
Yeah.
came in last minute. Yeah, that's probably going to be true, but I hope they don't try and shoehorn that into Doomsday, because there's just too much going on in Doomsday.
Yeah.
Doomsday now has 2 Avengers teams, an X-Men team, and features, what's the name again? Blah, 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 blah.
Pumala.
Blah, 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 blah. Dr. Doom's blah, blah, blah,
Did
blah,
you
blah,
see
blah,
the-
blah, blah, blah.
Did you see the new list of actors that are now supposedly rumored to be in Doomsday?
No, go ahead.
Uh,
I didn't say it. Like,
this was
you brought it up, champ.
this is from a reputable source
Just don't take as long
by
as the.
Jeff Snyder. So There's some backing to it, but a lot of the like Jeremy Renner is on that list. Famke Janssen, who else from Halle Berry?
So all the names we thought were going to get announced.
Well, I heard Halle Berry was fighting the contract that they were.
They're
giving her.
still like not Tom Holland or
the
those
rumor
folks.
is he's not because of whatever Spider-Man 4 is going to be.
Yeah.
So that's going to be going on at the same time as
So he'll be in Secret Wars, just not Doomsday.
Look, I've been hearing crazy rumors about trying to fit in the Spider-Verse to this, and that's the reason they're pushing Spider-Verse out. Yeah. The last person I heard talk about that was Rob at Comics Explained. So a lot of big people were bringing up that idea.
Sony, no.
Well, it's better than Sony just postponing it to postpone it.
Well, true, but
I don't like the creators. I'll take that. I'll take that. But honestly, you think you don't want that, and this is the point that Rob made, and I thought it was a great point. If Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and Tom Holland show up at the end of Spider-Verse, the third one, you will all lose your friggin' minds.
yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's
Yes.
not like you don't want that to happen. You just think you don't want that to happen.
I've got a more comprehensive list here. So Famke Janssen, Halle Berry, Owen Wilson, Sophia
Owen
Di
Wilson.
Martino,
Oh, wow.
Ki-Wan Kwan, Wunwi Masaku. I forget exactly who that is.
They're all going to
not
have 15 seconds of screen time.
Amon Vellani,
No way.
Karen Gillian, Bradley Cooper, Vin Diesel, Maria
What?
Bakalova, Will
Did you say Karen
Poulter.
Gillian is? So
Yeah.
So we're getting
I don't know, dude. Benedict Wong, Denai Guerrera, Tessa Thompson, Lashana Lynch, Dominique Thorne, Catherine Newton, and
it'll be quick shots of them all dying as the universe
Yeah.
ends. That's all it's going to be. That's all it's
Yeah.
going to be. All right.
Oh,
let's,
hold on. Rounding out the list, Tatiana Maslany, so She-Hulk. Wonder Man's, I'm not going to say his name.
Yeah.
Abdul
Yeah.
Charlize Theron,
You're just saying names at this point.
and Haley Atwell.
Just say everyone.
The people.
All right. Are we
There
good?
you
You still
We're good.
still rattling them off?
Mosh, no, I'm not in it.
All right.
Just
Well,
don't take as long as Marvel did announcing all
all
the
right,
names.
God, guys. I'm trying to move on. Stop.
And the
All
next
right.
chair.
You can you go back to producer? All right. Enough time has passed. We talked about Thunderbolts. We spoiled the hell out of it. Now I want to know behind the scenes of Super Jersey Comic Expo. If everyone could be quiet for a little bit, it's story time with Paul.
Can we get some hard copy music for this?
All right. So just as a little backstory here, and you've heard us talk about this on the show quite a few times, that Paul was gracious enough to ask us to help him with his social media and to get content throughout the weekend. But when I showed up, there were some things happening where I ended up going out and getting banners. And then every time I saw Paul, it seemed like he was dealing with some other fire that he was putting out. And I kept going back to the guys, and Features was killing it, getting interviews, and Moshko and Buzz at the table, they were killing it. Like, everything on the floor seemed to be great. But every single time I saw Paul, I swear another patch of hair was missing.
I had a friend post, and he said, my buddy Ken, he said he was a vendor there, and he said at one point, he goes, I got to see Paul for a few seconds, and it looked like he was aging in dog years.
Wow.
And
Well,
it
Paul,
was
real quick,
true. Yeah.
The journey of Super Jersey Comic Expo. If we can just, for anybody who might be new or not in the area, who might not get a chance to visit, what is Super Jersey Comic Expo from the person who created it?
It originally started as a comic show, a small comic show in Middletown, New Jersey, where I was hired because of what I do for a full-time living, and I ended up becoming friends with the two people who ran that. The three of us are now partners, and Super Jersey was always kind of meant to just be a comic show with a Comic-Con feel. I guess that's maybe the best way that I could put it, because anyone who's been to a comic show versus a Comic-Con knows the difference. A comic show is like what happened yesterday with Bill Bede, in Cherry Hill. Those are what our area is legend for. Whereas Comic-Cons kind of have taken on like a bit of a ubiquitous phrasing where you don't know if it's a Comic-Con when you walk in the door because it's hard to find comics. And that's what Super Jersey always started out was. We announced the show in late 2019, early 2020. due to COVID, we had to postpone it 3 times, and it didn't end up happening the first time until November of 2021. So we did November 21, November 22, October 28th, but with what happened in, October of 2023 was just we had to find a new home. So it was either shit or get off the pot at that point. And even though this is our 4th year, this was technically our 1st year. Super Jersey was always meant to be a comic book super show. I didn't think that it would ever get to be this large in such a short amount of time. And as, you were saying, seeing it like I was putting out 5 fires at a time is the absolute truth. But what I was always taught by my mentor, who I used to run Beer Fest with and everything like that, John Henderson, was, an event producer has a duty to make sure everybody is having a good time, even when they're not. So you cannot be a party spoiler. You cannot be a negative Nancy. You have to keep all of your cards very guarded. So regardless of whether I am screaming at the top of my lungs and crying for my mother to come ask me to come home, everyone else has to have a good time. And I have a duty to them to not allow them to see me, how I am on the inside. And because if I do that, my attendees will not have a good time. That is a job. That is the cross to bear for an event producer. It's like I disagree with people who say, "Oh, I put my kids first before everything." I feel like that's the wrong way to go about it. If you and your partner are not taken care of first, everything else trickles down. So when you put something, my personal quips, gripes, and problems behind the scenes of an event, I can't hold that over the heads of my vendors, my attendees, and everyone like that. Smoke and mirrors. It has to be. So I can't let it show that I am literally on the verge of anxious death. And that's just how it is. And some people are cut out for it, and just honestly, some people are not.
I didn't show it all. I think you killed it. I think everybody had a great time, except for the air conditioning on the first day. Past that,
Yes.
everybody really did have a great time, and no one saw. Like, there was multiple times I came up to you and I was like, "Oh, damn, I shouldn't bother him," but you were like, "No, we have to take care of this for you."
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, well, and that's how it has to happen, and I think that, the fact that we went from a one-day comic book super show at the building where they filmed Severance, which is, of course, now I'm angry because the Lumen building from Severance is where I used to have a Comic-Con.
Wow.
They fucked us over royally. We moved, and now it is the home base workplace of the most popular streaming series of all fucking time. So now I don't have a Comic-Con there. But now I have a Comic-Con at the Dome. And I'm hoping, and the way it looks is that, despite the growing pains that all of us had, which, if I did a great job of hiding it, awesome. I wanted to die. Put it this way.
I could tell.
I could. So I think I think out of all of you, probably Buzz is most familiar with my way origins, right? We're talking like 25 years ago-ish or so. And, I've been producing events since I was 16 years old, technically, but I've been producing large-scale events for 15 to 20 years. So, having a large event as it was at Bellworks, which was our old building, the Lumen building in Holmdel, and now biting off a triple-size bite of what we used to do without really changing much operationally showed behind the scenes, everything was on fire, nothing was okay. And everything was okay up until probably the morning of the show. A lot of people had gotten in from their flights. Stefan Kapicic got in, I want to say, Thursday. Salvador LaRocca got in like Tuesday or Wednesday because he flew in from Spain for the show. So having to manage all these personalities, and not even the personalities, but the people responsible for guarding the personalities, the agents, the handlers, the people like that, those were the ones that were legitimately causing me an absolute, that was causing me an absolute nightmare behind the scenes because I had so many people mad at me and I didn't know why they were all mad at me because I was finding out things as they were happening. So, like 5 or 6 people didn't show up to work on Saturday morning, and some of those people were some of the more skilled people that we had employed in the past. So we had to put some of the newer people who I have to give them all the credit in the world. Everybody who worked with us that weekend, technically including Menti, was able to pivot on a dime and able to help us out. But they were able to be bodies where they needed to be that weren't really skilled at what they had to do. That combined with the fact that there was a massive pileup apparently on the New Jersey Turnpike, which kept a bunch of our shuttles that were bringing the guests over, both comic guests and media guests, from getting to the destination on time. So I had to pivot very, very quickly with, you should see my Uber bill. My Uber bill looks like I bought a pack of gum at CVS. It's still 26 fucking miles long, right? And I think the Uber bills are still coming through. Like, they're just clearing now. We had to pivot so quickly on Saturday morning. It basically just set up a chain of dominoes that just kept falling because one thing wasn't getting done, the other wasn't getting done. Menti, as you know, the banners. I drove to Nyack, New York to bring Jim Shooter down himself because that's what Jim Shooter means to me. Jim Shooter lives about 2.5 hours north of the show. So on setup day, one of the guys who created the whole show had to leave for 6 hours on setup day, which could go either way. But we're very fortunate that we had a solid team in place that was there on Friday. I go up there, and I'm not allowed to just go pick up Jim. Uncle Jim just doesn't let you grab him out of his apartment and go. You need to come sit down. You're going to have a nice chilled beverage. You're going to overlook the river and see Sing Sing across the way from his place, and he just wants to chat. And Jim right now is he is doing very well and in good spirits. Yes, people know that he's been battling with a little bit of health issues, but I can say, having talked to him multiple times recently, he felt like he was doing okay. He was feeling strong, and he's stubborn as a fucking mule. And I can tell you, for anything, getting compliments or positive sentiments out of Jim Shooter himself is not an easy task. And his words of confidence after our very first show are one of the main reasons that kept this show going. We had him the very first year, and I was walking him to his car because we had an SUV come down to get him and take him home. He sat in his car as he was getting in, and I swear we ordered an extra large SUV, and he still had to duck in. 6'9", at his tallest, and you could see all the joke panels back in this, late 70s, early 80s comics with him in it towering over every building in New York. But he doesn't just give compliments. He's not a spryly, I love you, you're great type person. And when he was leaving that very first show, he said, I've done a lot of shows, and I don't really love doing shows anymore, but this might have been one of the best one-day shows that I've ever done in my career. And he said, I don't know what you got going on here. I heard there was chaos behind the scene. You need to take this, and you need to keep this going. So there is a small part in me with everything in the back of my head telling me to quit, telling me to, why am I doing a Comic-Con in an already crowded region of pop culture events? And a lot of that has to do with the fact that our show model, rounding that whole tangent back to our show model, is I don't feel as if there is a single convention, expo, show that you will, that is our exact format. And that exact format is, it has to start with comics. So when you walk in the door, I want to see comic vendors all over the place. Our guests for the first 3 years were only comic legends. This year we added media guests. But, and I've had to send this to 20 different agents who don't get the fucking hint, is we have a media guest, a celebrity, if you will. I don't like calling them that, but yeah, sure. They have to have portrayed a prominent character from comics that originated in comics to be a guest at our show. And I've had to tell the guy who was the police lieutenant from Ace Ventura that. I've had to tell, third cop on the left from RoboCop 2 and Scene 6, that type of thing. It's not that I don't feel it's not that I feel like people aren't worth being a guest at my show. We have a format. And our sticking to that format is why Heroes Con has been going for decades. That is why Baltimore Comic Con has been going for decades. I feel like we have been able to create a hybrid event that is a real Comic-Con that dips its toes into pop culture. And my hope is, and if you see the way our floor was laid out, why do you think Artist Alley is in the center of this Comic-Con? Because artists are the nucleus of comics. Without them, they do not exist. And would you believe that I had people complaining that the setup was making people avoid the Comic Artist Alley when, like, you're like this? You literally have to go around it to avoid Artist Alley. And some of the complaints and feedback that we had from the show are, I feel like the setup just wasn't good. It made people go right around Artist Alley. And I'm like, wait, okay.
Would you rather be on the outskirts? Like, what are you asking?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, then you put that, and that there is one of the reasons why myself and the event producers, we can't act like everything is falling apart. Is someone's cat walking on newspaper?
No, that was Huey's ice.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It sounded quite like crunching newspaper.
I like how he brought it back. Just to verify.
He just took a bigger gulp. Oh, it's so cold. I think that we have found a way to create a show model that I don't want to say doesn't exist, but maybe it's the purest of its kind. And I think of the early 2000s comic conventions, because back in the early 2000s when all the movies started getting made, and, we saw the building blocks of a real cinematic universe 25 years ago, it just went different ways. We know that. But you would go take a look at San Diego Comic-Con from 2000, 2001, 2002. It really is. We're talking 90% comics, movies, and comic-adjacent things. And I like that. That's what I've always liked. It's somewhere between the Fan Expo Philly and the Moose Lodge comic show. I feel like there is a happy medium, but because of the way that we've all been conditioned, depending on where we go, if we only go to the fan expos or we only go to the Galaxy Cons, there's nothing wrong with that, but that's just a different format. Or if you're the guy who's only gone to the Moose Lodge shows and you hear that Jim Shooter is showing up 12 minutes from your house, and you walk in and you're like, what the fuck is it? They don't allow smoking in here. This place sucks. Like one of those guys. Like, they still allow smoking at the bar in some of these comic shows. I want that. I want that on a massive scale. Obviously not the cigarette smoke, but I want those comics. I want those comics on that scale, but I also have grown up watching these movies. These are 25 years of all of our lives since the first X-Men movie came out. Right? So I'm 41, 16 years old, still in high school. John, I think you were almost potty trained by then. And if you take a look at it, it really, like, sometimes we don't give it as much credit as we should, because some people just blow them off as comic book movies, or they're deeper. They've been a part of our lives for a quarter century now. And those characters that started a quarter century ago are still here. So that's what I love. When I took quite a long hiatus from reading comics for a while, it was the movies that kind of kept my mind going about them. So I think there is. You can have a big Comic-Con, actually have comics there, not pay $100 to get through the door, and stay true to the actual comic format, where comics will always come first, but you will find comic-adjacent things. And that was my problem, was that we went way too big for the jump. Catherine Disher herself said, you went from a 3 to a 7. On the type of show that you do. And I was like, damn, okay, yes. Because she's seen every size convention you could think of. She goes, from what you told me, you were at a 3 and you hopped up right to a 7. And you didn't really change anything about the way you did stuff. And I was like, yeah. And she was saying this when we were like settling up and everything for the day, and she's getting ready to fly home. She goes, despite the hiccups, I love this show. This was very fun. This was amazing. And, the problems behind the scene, they were many, and a lot of them had to do with us not anticipating the amount of growth from one year to another, because we thought we had it all figured out. And the Dome, which I will say this, despite the hiccups that we saw over the weekend, we were the largest event that was ever in there. And I feel that between them and us, I would love to see a future partnership if they work out their kinks and we work out ours. I think we could have something that could be the perfect actual comic convention. And from agents yelling at me to getting texts and calls, and I lost my phone for an hour and a half on Sunday morning. Can you imagine that? Like, and then when I got it back,
I know, I was at Staples. You texted me.
Yeah. And then when I got it back, I finally found it. I had to give it to Catherine Disher to use as a Square register for 3 hours, because hers wasn't working and the Wi-Fi went down. So between the 6 people not showing up for work, the pileup on the turnpike, the Wi-Fi went out for an hour and a half just as the show was starting. I lost my phone for however long it was, and then the air conditioning did not anticipate what was going on. It was bad. I remember probably at its worst, like around like 1 o'clock, 1:30 in the afternoon on Saturday. I was out dealing with the customer who was upset, and I feel like when I walked through those turnstile doors, I walked into an iguana tank. Like, it was disgusting in there. And I don't deal well in the heat, period. Put my room on 64 degrees, keep it like a vegetable aisle in a grocery store. That is where I'm at. And that was exacerbating everything. Every special guest was late to their table. No one was able to go out to the side door to greet them because everyone was putting out all the other fires. So it kept backing up of people being mad at me. And it's not because I'm the only guy running the show. I'm not the only guy running the show. My partners, AJ and Stan, we've been together since day one. They are the logistics guys that are everything that I'm not. And this is going to sound so like pandering type stuff, like, oh, yeah, okay. We very much are like the Lee, Kirby, and Ditko trio, because Stan, not a people person, and he admits it. He is the behind-the-scenes guy. He's got the glasses and the beard, and he's always working very hard. It's because of Stan that our floor plan is down to the inch, because he's a construction engineer in real life. So he can take a CAD design of a room and build it out to the inch. AJ is very much like Kirby. He has a great creative mind. He likes doing things that are going to surprise people and make them happy, but he's not someone who wants to be the guy on social media doing things like that. So inadvertently, while I have the experience, and I guess you could say some of the artistry that Stan Lee might have not, I end up being put there because I'm the most comfortable on the internet. Because, as you guys know, I've been entrenched in it for 16, 17 years as my full-time career. And, that's just the way that it works. So when you have the 3 of us and all 3 of our cages are rattled, man, it got really ugly. It got very, very ugly behind the scenes, and it was one of the first times where, team members were kind of screaming at each other on the radio and things like that. And that's something I don't deal with. I don't deal well with that at all, because I like wearing an earpiece when I'm radioed up, because I don't want to do that. Go for Paul. Go for it. And I can't hear, and I'm trying to do this. I like to be mic'd up so I can just go, yeah, got it, and I'm good. So I didn't have that. I was out of my comfort zone. It was like my binky. I didn't have my binky of an earpiece and a microphone here. I kept reaching for it, like, fuck, someone save me. Like, if there was like a life alert button, I would have hit it 100 times. So we were all rattled. The door got inundated, as you know. Saturday was just like a bum rush for like 4.5 hours, close to 5 hours nonstop. It was insane. And so all the new people in their areas, they were the ones, they didn't have the experience, and it just caused things to back up. And by the end of the day, everything was running perfect. It was awesome. Yes. It really, really was. And I think that everyone, for the most part, could feel the palpable vibe on Sunday was just way easier. Everybody felt good. Eventually, Menti got back with banners. And because the funny thing, so on my ride down with Jim Shooter on Friday, I get the call that the banners, none of the special guest banners showed up. And I mean comic artist guest banners. So imagine this. We have all the banners up for all the media guests rolling out the red carpet and stuff like that. And none of the comic artist legend guest banners showed up. Ouch. So already we're kind of taking that hit. It's like, oh, you guys are forgetting about the comic artists. You're already going celebrities. And then none of them have banners all day Saturday. Because I think, John, you were able to get them like end of day Saturday, I think it was. Here's the problem.
Oh, dude, it was 6 hours with banners.
Time doesn't exist when I'm in that mode. When I am in show mode, there is no time. There is like no emotion. There is no... You have to be able to juggle 15 things at once and take care of 6 problems at a time. And the only time that whole weekend that was quiet, and I mean this with all sincerity, was when my family showed up. When my wife and my children showed up, it was like that scene in a movie where, I felt like Randy Quaid in Independence Day, tell my kids I love them. I get on the radio and I'm tracking my wife's ways so I don't get pulled into something else. And I see her coming up Monmouth Road, and I get on the walkie-talkie and I say, Paul, to the floor. In the next 45 minutes, I do not exist. If you see me, do not bother me. My family is coming. Handle it. I trust all of you. And I turn my radio off. Even in the midst of all the chaos that was still going on, I turned my radio off. I walk out front to the parking attendants who also were learning what they were doing that weekend, right? This is the Dome staff, and not in a bad way learning what they were doing, but there was this was an exercise in figuring everything out. And I walk up to Dan, the manager, who, by the way, Dan is absolute rock star. He came on less than 2 months ago at the Dome, and he's really helped things out. Because before that, they were very disorganized with the Dome at times because they had a lot of changeover. But since Dan came on, they've been great. I walk out front, and the sand just starts blasting me. You know how that was. I'm like, oh, my God. Yeah. And, I walk up to them, and I just start moving the traffic cones. And, what are you doing? I was like, my wife is pulling up. They're like, she can't park up front there. I was like, I $52,000 to be here this weekend. I can park. And that was me just going into primal dickhead Paul Brown. I've had enough. I went over and I apologized to the person. And I literally pulled my wife right up front as close as you could be, got the stroller, and I walked in with my boys. And for that hour and 15 minutes, that was the only peace that I had all weekend. I did not enjoy myself almost at all weekend, with the exception of going outside and telling Stefan Kapicic what I do for a living and explaining it to him. Bro, oh shit. He's like, wow. He's like, wow. I kept hearing that from him. And yes, Menti, you were out there.
I was there. I watched that.
I just put that little visual part of you hanging out there as well. That,
I was still trying to talk to you about banners.
Yeah. And I didn't know.
You were like, come with me. I was like, okay, I'm going to watch this.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know that. I become so oblivious when I'm in do or die event mode. I'm in survival mode at that point because I don't have to worry about me. I have to save this event for everyone else, whether they see the problems going on behind the scenes or not. So when my family was there, when I was talking to Stefan outside, those were the only times that I really think I actually enjoyed the entire weekend.
You could see, though, that everybody at the show, especially when you were walking around with your family, very much appreciated what you did. Because it was just like you were the Don. As you were walking through, everyone was just handing you gifts. And I was like, oh, for the kids, make sure. Every booth I saw you at, it was like, oh, Paul, come here. But it was awesome. But it was great. It was awesome.
That's what the show is built on. The show, some of the people vending there have been with us since Middletown Comic Show 2019. They have ridden every, bumpy road with us. They've seen what we've gone through firsthand. And I think that if maybe I can dial back how much I verbally vomit on the internet from the show's pages, because everybody knows it's me just going on one of those 19 paragraph things. That's what's built our repertoire with everyone from people who have been VIPs since day one, with the sponsors who've been with us every single time we fucked up, and the VIPs with every time we fucked up. That whole show was never built on, we are going to make the best event and we're going to make a shitload of money, because it ain't happened. And the whole foundation of the show was based on building relationships. From day one, we were giving people more than we should have or could have at the time, to the year in 23, when we refunded every red cent of ticket money and saw 3,500 people through the door, largest show ever, and we were ruined financially. And it was everything. We're going to make this okay for everyone. We should have canceled that show, but the planes were booked, the hotels were booked, the deposits were paid, everything was done, and you can't ruin the time for everyone else. I am the one. Me and my partners are the ones who brought you all here. I have to make sure you enjoy yourself now, no matter how much I legitimately wanted to die. I kid you not, there was a point where I could just feel the static crawling into my line of sight, and I was like, I am going to die from a panic attack right now. And listen, I'll be honest with you, a lot of it was money based as well, because if you think about the amount of revenue that we had coming in that weekend for ticket sales at the door, but that's all digital money. That's all. That's not money that I can pay a guest if they don't meet their guarantee, or pay a guest if they this or that, you know, because I'll be frank with you. Not everyone met their guarantee, which despite insane attendance numbers that we had, you know, all-time high, all that money was up in digital. So on Sunday, when everyone's expecting to get out of here, go home and get paid, I'm sending this person with this debit card to that bank, this person with this. I'm giving away all of the plastic that represents my financial existence from, you know, our Comic-Con, and I'm transferring money from here to here to here so they can take out this amount because, yeah, we were kind of building up to it. We were robbing Peter to pay Paul a little bit from our situation in 2023 financially, but everything was going okay. We just didn't realize all the money that had to come out and look through our contracts that were in cash getting paid out. And that is what kind of set the second half of Sunday on fire. And I saw you, John, when you guys were doing your show wrap-up, you said he drove up to New York to get Jim Shooter. You know what I didn't do? Remember to take Jim Shooter home.
I bet you that conversation was fun.
I will say this. Jim does not hold a grudge. He does not at all. I called him, I want to say Wednesday. And that is the basis of a lot of problems that happened on Sunday, second half of the day. And then I knew Larry Lieber was coming in the door, and I've got that whole thing worrying me right then. Like I am the one who sent the initial email to Frank, who is one of his best friends with Danny Fingeroff and all them, and I'm the one who sent this email that now brought Larry Lieber here. This is my fault or my win. And so I'm stressing about that. I got people in my ear who want to leave. I got no money when I got to be giving out a lot of money. There was a part of me that kind of wished I would have had a heart attack right there so I could get carted out of the place and no one could be mad at me. Because while all of you were having an amazing time and the vendors seemed to be enjoying themselves, I got to walk around with my family for 45 minutes and I hated almost every other minute of the weekend. And it was the goal for 2026 is for me to enjoy our convention. I want to be able to walk over to Mike DiCarlo's booth, who told me the other day he had the best weekend of his career.
Wow.
Better than MegaCon. Better than Terrificon. But I was like, shut up. I was like, dude, shut up. And he's like, no. He goes, I did better at your show than any other 3-day convention I've ever done. And he goes, I loved it. And every time we have him, he asks to come back. And it's just like, I'm not dealing with an agent. I'm dealing with Mike DiCarlo, you know? And that's the stuff that still blows my mind, is that I'm now, by, absolute purpose, if you will, finding a way, like, to now get to know the people who wrote all the stories that I grew up on. And I have to keep that going. Hell or high water.
When you feel like the show was a failure, in your own words,
yeah,
and that you can't take it anymore, are those the moments that keep you pushing for a next year?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they are, because I felt like a failure many, many times during Super Jersey weekend, because it was things that I knew, things that I was supposed to do, things that I was supposed to communicate and delegate, and ask anyone on the team who was working that weekend. The word of the weekend was delegate, because I do not know how to delegate, and I have never known how to delegate because, number one, it's always just been me in terms of work and a lot of times how I felt in life, right? So I need to survive, I need to go. But the problem that happened was, if I'm making a majority of the decisions and my team is not informed, if I cannot delegate, then everything will crash and burn. And the reason I never delegated was because I never wanted anyone to feel as if I was pushing them off on someone else. Menti, if you text me, we're talking about 26, and then I say, hey, do me a favor, just finish this conversation with blah, 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 blah. How would that feel as someone who's been my friend for 15 years, Yes, we're working on a business thing, but I've always felt like the relationship was the biggest part of everything, over money, over ego, over anything else. The relationship is what builds everything. And if I delegate too much to another person with someone who I'm already close with, it'll feel like I'm pushing them off, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you fought me on the going to Staples. I'll be up front. He didn't make me go to Staples. I offered. And he was not happy when I said it. No, you're going to stay. And I'm like, well, I'd rather go get the banners.
Yeah, and that's the problem. That almost caused the show to crash and burn. There were other things behind the scenes that we had faced a couple months prior. Those are kind of like internal things that we're going to, hopefully address in the next show. But the biggest key is that I've already brought on 3 to 4 new people who are now 3 to 4 people more who have ever worked on the show, which is me, Stan, and AJ. And that's what I don't think people realize. They see the way that our logo has changed, and it's gotten, I don't want to say simpler, but I almost feel like our logo now almost looks corporate, compared to like some of the, like if you take a look at the way Super Jersey Comic Expo looks now for this year's branding versus the very first one we did. The first one was very playful. And I just mean simple things. Like there was the color gradient of our first logo was literally meant to mimic the title of Back to the Future, right? And then I even put some of the the lines behind the arrow there. Whereas this year's, we changed up the branding because we said this was going to be our villain era, right? After everything that happened in 2023, we decided that we were going to do another show, and you saw all of our social media go from orange, blue, red, white, and blah, 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 to red, white, blue, and black. And it was almost like a planned transition to our villain era that we were like, we're not going to stay down. Like, we're going to fight back, and we're going to show the people that fucked us over how badly they fucked up, because we're going to make this the biggest thing ever. So you can go straight through back, like you can see a distinct change. And I have never posted the old logo, the old branding ever since that changeover, and that was kind of by design.
Yeah, you yelled at me. I sent you that first video, and you were like, "Dude, change the logo."
Well, if anything, we're like we did with the social media and the show, we created a narrative. We kind of created our own little kayfabe there, and I like the idea of being more aggressive with it next year. If you guys, do decide that, yes, we do want to come on, I want it to be more like.
Decided already. What are you talking about?
Well, no, I saw
you
it.
yelled us again in the comments.
Right. I did. Well, no, again, I don't want I don't want you to think that it's not like an option to not do it. But the reason I reached out to you is because I understand now that strategic partners they're not just for building relationships; they're here to rely on. And while I do what I do, and I've done it for so long, you're the very first human beings I've ever handed anything over to, social media wise. Eventually.
Sunday about 2:00.
And when I said you can just have it for as long as you want it, and I've never done that. I've never done that since 2009. I've been doing this internet BS stuff. I've never done that, and I knew because I watched you guys, and I watched you guys coming up. You kind of came back from everything, that happened or didn't happen with Fireside. And, that was a thing. And then it kind of, and then now's the new thing. And that was kind of similar to us. And I saw that you guys were fighting the good fight with, growing your fan base, growing your tribe, if you will. And I was like, I feel like you guys are at the same level as us in your fight. So do we want to team up? Yeah, let's fight together. And, I cannot wait to see what happens when I actually give you a full weekend to do it. And if we do sign back on with the Dome, which we have not yet, and some discussions need to be had before we do that, and hopefully we can come to an accord. I would love to continue going there. I just don't want to move again. There are very few event spaces in the southern half of New Jersey, and I say southern half, like let's call it basically, I don't know, like PNC Arts Center, exit 117. If you will, on the Parkway South, because that's where our old place was. I don't want to go up to Edison. I don't want to do Hoboken and Paramus. You're just living in the shadow of New York City, and there is nothing anywhere near, event-wise, that this will do. So I hope we don't have to move.
I don't think you should. I'm going to double down on this. It was the weirdest con I've ever been to in the best way possible. We went through a damn airlock. Yeah. we stood on ground up tires. You know how much easier that is? Not pushing stuff, not so much. That was not as fun. But as far as my feet by the end of the day.
For the first time in my event production life, my feet and my back didn't hurt Monday morning. I did not believe it. I was like, when is this coming though? No. Tuesday? No. Wednesday? No. Yeah. I mean, I think that with tweaking And with work on both sides, I think that the Dome could be a force to be reckoned with events. And I think that we could be the best Comic Con in the region.
Well,
Nothing against Baltimore or anything like that. Nothing against, anyone up. Nothing against Big Apple Con. But I think that we are the only ones doing what we're doing.
Yeah, and in a bubble.
In a bubble.
In a bubble.
Literally,
again, I can't stress this enough.
1.7 atmospheric pressure or something like that. You walk in and you have to go.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I was amazed when everyone was just waiting for the door to open. I'm like, what is happening? They were like, oh, no, they have to repressurize. I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
That's a brand new experience.
There were so many aliens jokes at the airlock.
Oh, so many.
Yeah.
All right, well, okay. So one thing that Moshko said on our last show that I think was pretty important was you don't recognize it, Paul, but he said that it's how events deal with issues that makes them great. Because no event is without issues. And the fact that no one saw it, I mean, I saw it because I was around you, but had I not been, I would have had no clue outside of the air conditioner. That was literally the only thing that I was thinking, and that was something that a lot of people talked about. But past that, and the parking fiasco on day one, no one noticed a thing, and that is why everyone had a great time. So while you may have been stressed, what you created and what you did was 100% a success because no one experienced that. And honestly, I mean, I hate to keep harping on the air conditioner, but I feel like if the air conditioner wasn't a problem on day one, people wouldn't have had the people who didn't make their money would have because it was incredible how quickly wallets opened the moment the air was on.
Yeah.
That was something that Mike from Comic Universe was saying. He was like, man, I'm not getting any sales. And he was talking to the other vendors around him. He's like, but we're not getting any sales either. And then all of a sudden it got nice. And then everyone made the money they were hoping to make.
Yeah.
It was incredible, the switch in the goers when that happened. So just imagine what that weekend would have looked like if that first day wouldn't have had that one issue. That is the only thing that people actually experienced on the floor. Outside of that, no one saw it. And that's a testament to you, my friend. That's not a testament to that's a testament to resilience. And so while you might feel bad, remember that none of us experienced that. You succeeded.
Yeah. I appreciate that. It's hard. It's just hard to see it that way because we start everything ends with us, and we deal with everything in the middle. So I'm going to go to Heroes Con in June, and go see Uncle Jim and Uncle John again and hang out with them and peruse around a little bit. But yeah, no, you're not wrong. We see everything on the minutia, whereas everyone else is kind of just looking down from 1,000 feet up, and it's hard to not be that way. And my concern is if I'm worried about if I don't stay hard on myself about the events, then I will get careless about the events, but
that's not your nature.
But being disorganized in a way is a bit careless. So that is what I personally need to work on. We're bringing on, like I said, everything ever for the show up till the weekend of has been done by one of three people. It has been myself, Stan, or AJ have done everything for the show. Everything for every show has been us up until the weekend of. It can't be that way. If we want to play in the sandbox with the big boys, we need to put on our big boy pants. So things are going to change. Processes are going to change. We're going to do everything we can to not raise prices, but our prices are so insanely low for the size convention that we have. Are we doing ourselves a disservice by only charging X amount when we have this much to offer? But I don't want to be the convention that's $40 on Saturday and $35 on Sunday. I don't ever want that amount of money doesn't matter to me when it comes to the world of comics. I just want a great event. So we'll see what we have to. I know we have a nice little punch list of things we have to change. We brought on at minimum 3 people who I hope they're watching this, and if they are, you saved the weekend. And I look forward to being able to pass on to you things in future weekends that will make my life less of a living hell.
Well, I mean, it's disheartening to know that you didn't have the time that the rest of us did, but I will say thank you on behalf of those that didn't have the time you did.
Oh, I appreciate it, and I feel I will enjoy the event when I deserve to get to enjoy the event. When it becomes the final form of what myself and my partners are hoping for, I'll enjoy it then. Until then, I have to stay sharp and, minimize any blowback. And I think that the less problems that we have in upcoming years will result in me taking more time and enjoying it more.
You know what? I mean, I hate to say it this way, but you might not. But I
Yeah.
don't think that that's the moment that you live for. I think I have access to your socials now. I see the messages. I see the comments. I see the stories. I see the amount of feedback that you're getting from just all unbelievably positive. And I feel like that has to make it all worth it. So regardless on how you felt for 2 days, the way you're going to feel for the next month, I have a feeling is going to make up for that.
Yeah, and we've had more positive feedback this year, maybe than all 3 years combined. And we've always had positive.
You're welcome.
feedback. Yeah. How many subscribers have you guys gained since we hopped on together?
How many banners did you get, Paul?
Fair. Harsh but fair. It's, it is. I don't ever want that personal aspect of the show to go away. If it ends up being huge someday, great. I still want to be able to talk to people myself. I don't ever want to put it behind a wall where nobody knows who runs it, nobody knows who they can get a hold of. But I do know that if we want to grow, play in the big boy sandbox, we need to have a team in place to where I'm not responsible for finishing every little thing. And that's my problem. And we're trust me, we're already working on it. There are 3 people that know that they ain't going anywhere now. They're like, oh, sorry, you did way too good that weekend. You are staying right on, which is why you guys are now stuck with us, because you guys did such a great job at pivoting and figuring out a way to just, continue harvesting content and features. I know that, you're conquering your, in front of camera, and besides Michael Jai White saying, you said doo-doo. It was great. Listen, I got to see Chris Veen. How bad could I possibly be? Chris Veen fucking vaults down from the rafters. And, hey, man, like, how did you get here? How are you? Okay, I gotta go. I need to give someone a sandwich. Bye. No, it was great. You guys did great, and I think that that's what is going to end up, I hope, and this is not like one of those, it's going to be great for all of us, but like I really hope that the people we decide to team up with now at this inflection point of the show are the people that we grow and grow and grow and grow with. I don't want to move from the Dome. There's no venues really like it. I hope that we don't have to, and we'll see what the coming weeks say to that. But I think that, like, just the people we've put in place, with you helping us out with signal boosts and everything like that, helping more of the internet and putting, honestly, more of a professional touch on it than I would have anywhere near the time to do. You are all doing exactly kind of what I do for a living, but I don't do it well when it's my own thing during the thing. So if I didn't bring, if we didn't come to the agreement with Super Jersey and that comic podcast, my social media might still not be what it is right now because you were able to help so much and put the word out. We've never really been able to get much professional content videoed at the show, lifestyle footage, B-roll, stuff like that. We've never really had that. And I was thinking about it earlier today. I was like, the fact that, out of the top of my head, I was like, fucking Menti and the guys. One day when you were talking about something, you popped up and I was like, oh, because I'll be honest, I hadn't kept up with every detail about, the tail end of Fireside and all that, but life happens. Mm-hmm. But you were like the first one to really pop into my mind when I was like, maybe it'd be a good idea to have someone who's like-minded, who's in that comic sphere, that like our comic convention is the event version of your podcast.
I think so. I agree.
And I think that's why it works so well, is because I would need a ragtag team, of Bad News Bears like yourself to complement mine.
Well, that's why we left Huey at home.
Wow.
That's the only reason. And
I'll see myself out.
Just turn your camera off. It's cool.
I'm surprised you haven't already.
Wow.
It really. I think it just really does work. We, God, this is going to sound so corny, but we are a big team of Thunderbolts guys. We are all delightful.
Way to bring it back.
Yeah. And with that, bye-bye.
Segway Sam over here.
Well played.
We are all our own incredibly disorganized, good at heart people for the most part. We're just all finding our way in this weird, scary, angry world, and I just want to hang out with other people that love comics and movies, and that's it. And I think I can't wait to see what happens when I actually give you a level playing field to play on all weekend, because my Lombardi playbook up here just doesn't go like this to people, and that's what I'm working on.
Well, you know what's going to be interesting is that we have content now for a good while. So instead of me rushing your socials I'm going to have a couple videos up each week. So this con, for a lot of people who didn't get to experience it, it's now going to be a regular occurrence day to day for the next couple months, I would argue, because Features was nonstop for like 5 hours each day. Like Features didn't take many breaks. So I have so much content to play with. And if you think the weirdest thing that Michael Jai White said was him saying doo-doo, I got some good ones.
I can't wait.
I got some good ones.
That poor guy, he was tired. He came right from filming in Louisville, up. He landed at the airport at 9 a.m. on Saturday morning.
Ooh.
He was a trooper. He was a sweetheart. The dream come true for me right there. Honestly, I'll be honest with you. I was totally selfish in this guest list this year. I booked people that I wanted to meet.
Well, good.
I mean,
Hey, jerk on. You can do what you want.
Yeah, but you know what? It ended up working for the most part, great for everyone, and I'm friends with Colossus now, so that's all that matters. And I got to hang out with my childhood Superman. I got to hang out with the best guy who's ever played Colossus. Last minute we added Zoom. Like that was, I kid you not, that was a week before the show. Literally, we started. I think it was similar to how we got Ross Marquand. Ross Marquand followed us on Instagram one day, and I was like, and I messaged him and I said, "You following us mean you want to come to our convention?" And I sent him this emoji. And he was like, "When are the dates?" And I was like, "Tell him, okay, let me talk to my people." And it turned out his people were the same people that we already had Cal Dodd with. So that worked out very easily. And then Teddy Sears kind of happened the same way. A buddy of mine from California works with him out there. And Teddy was like, "Yo, bro, get me to Jersey." And I'm like, "I just might. Thank you." And that deal came about very fast, and we did it very last minute. And I don't regret it at all. It was great, but the processes have to change. It can't just all be up here.
But you had to go through it first. Yeah. You had to take it from a 3 to a 7 for you to understand how to make it to an 8.
Correct. And that is what we hope to do. I do think that we will. I will say this now, because if I put it into the universe, it'll materialize. I do believe that we should dial back the amount of media guests that we have every year. I think our show would work better with, put it this way, and I'm not saying just not have guests in placement with them, but what if, and again, I will say it to get it out into the universe and manifest it. What if we get the Todd McFarlanes, the Kevin Eastmans, the Frank Millers? So see what I mean now? Imagine, no, listen to me. And imagine a dream lineup here, right? 2016 is 10-year anniversary from the first Deadpool movie, 35 years. Is it New Mutants 98, 1990 or 91?
I didn't hear what you just said.
Is New Mutants 98, 1990 or 1991?
91.
91. So we have a 10-year anniversary of the Deadpool movie, 35-year anniversary of the Deadpool character. So what if I were able to get, Fabian and Rob Liefeld?
Under one roof, that'll be fun.
And that's what I mean. So imagine if I think we had 11 or 12 media guests, right, this year, and we had 26 comic artist guests. What if I went down to 5 to 6 media guests, but I replaced them with 5 Jim Lees,
That's what Baltimore does. They get the big creator to come through, and then the gold level VIPs sell out. They're lined up around the building, out the door for it. I've been in those lines.
You saw what Larry Lieber was like for the 3 hours he was there. Man, that line was
and that was all that we allowed. That was all that we allowed. In my initial email with them, I wrote out the whole plan, and one of those stipulations. One of those stipulations was Larry Lieber will not sign for more than 3 hours at my show because I will not allow it.
Well, I mean, I need you to catch your breath, but I do want to say Larry, the post that I saw, someone made a comment that they were scared about how Larry was going to be treated because of the most recent Stan Lee documentary that came out.
Yeah.
And your response, not only to in the comments, but your response, that long form response, I feel like put everyone at ease. I feel like it was handled beautifully, especially with fresh off the heels of a pretty horrific documentary that could have put people in a weird spot to whether or not they wanted to stand in line. But because of how it was handled, once again, how it was handled, everybody was excited and no one seemed worried.
Right. Yeah, we definitely got a couple comments of, obviously that nature. And I wanted to cut that thing off at the knees right away and say, listen, I get it. I understand where you're coming from. I get what you're saying, but you need to know this, is that we are doing this from Larry was emailed from the heart because I wanted him to see him celebrate his novel. This was not about getting Larry Lieber, the co-creator of Iron Man and Ant-Man. Yes, that was done in the marketing and the promotion so that people would see it. I wanted to give Larry an official welcoming into the world that he is in now, his very first novel after 74 years in comics. I wanted to give that to him because it wasn't about me booking Larry Lieber, the creative Iron Man. That was me thanking Larry Lieber for everything that he created by giving him a celebration of his first ever novel. Nobody's going to ever see it that way, but that's why I approached it. And because I approached it that way from my heart, that I wanted to give him a thank you party, if you will, with the signing and the panel and have everybody come see him, that was my thanks. That was not me booking Larry Lieber to say that I booked the co-creative Iron Man. That was me giving Larry a public thank you to everyone, and he had a blast. And I laid that out in the very beginning from the very first email, and that's what got the deal done. That was it. I never just talked about him doing the comic stuff or anything. I said, let's push your book. Push the book. Let's do a book release party. And, yeah, that was amazing. But that was strictly on you're only allowed to sign for a couple hours, and then I'm sending you home. We're sending the largest, comfiest SUV that we can find for you and your closest compatriots. We are putting you in a private room by yourself so you're not in the middle of the floor of thousands of people at 93 years old. We are putting you in a separate room. We are putting you in the comfiest chair that you can possibly fit in. There will be cold cuts and cheese and salami and all that stuff behind the curtain because that's what he liked to eat, because he eat like a bird, and I think he wasted $300 in catering that I spent on it. But my entire interaction with Larry was it was towards the end of when my family was there, and I had Jack on my shoulders, and I was like, do you want to go see Uncle Larry? And he said, Uncle Larry! And he's just starting to talk, right? And I'm like, oh my God. And I just remember the look. I just walked by everybody in line to go in the exit from him, right? And he wasn't in there, but he was behind the curtain, just sitting there, eating, little thing. I took my wife, Jennifer, behind. She goes, where are we going? I was like, we're going where I say we're going, because this is all ours, right? And I just walked behind the curtain there. He was just sitting in there, just, tiny little man. And I said, Larry, you don't know me from Adam. You've never heard my name, I'm sure, but I'm the one who wanted to bring you here, and I want to thank you so much for coming here. I cannot believe I'm just sitting here with you right now. And he goes, well, I appreciate you coming to me about my book. And that was the very first thing he said. And I was like, we did it right. So great. We got the honor of, booking Larry Lieber, the comic writer and artist legend. Yeah, that's great. But I got to officially usher in Larry Lieber's new lease on life at 93 years old. That's that little deputy badge right there, man. Whew.
Well, I just to put a nice little bow on things, I have been to comic conventions all around the world. I just found out, I don't remember this, I was at the first ever San Diego Comic-Con when I was a toddler. I have been.
That sounds made up.
That's fair. You can believe that. But I literally, through many states, I've been to a lot of comic conventions, and Buzz can also attest to this. Features can attest to this. Hell, you and I have run into each other at God knows how many Comic Cons in the first 4 years of me doing this show. Yep. I had a phenomenal time, even though I wasn't there, because I was happy to do it for you. So
Appreciate that.
It was an outstanding show, and it was you could see and feel the love that you put into it. I know you're horrible with compliments, but you're just going to have to sit here and deal with it for a second, because I had a blast. They all had a blast, and that was off your hard work. So thank you very much for not only the opportunity, but for what you were able to provide.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you very much.
And with that, we're going to move on.
I will say this. I am 5 a.m. comes very early when it's 9:45 at night, and I would legitimately sit here and chat with you guys until the sun comes up. But with the family getting up early for work, and the boys also don't get up much after that, if I want to maintain whatever the hell this shape is I've got going on now, I need to get my big old ass up at 5 o'clock on the dot every weekday.
Let's
same
find
here.
a time. We get you a microphone and get you some headphones, and then have you come back on it a little bit more regularly. I want to hear more about the Danger Room. I want to there's some other things that you're doing I'd love to hear about. So
You're
let's
not
get
just going to use me for my con. No? Okay, got it.
I mean,
your contacts.
Hey, if you happen to be texting Teddy Sears anytime soon, just can you
Remember how we were friends?
I would like to. No, I like that. It's, life has just been very hectic for the last couple of years, honestly, and building this thing behind the scenes is, I couldn't even. I think I've talked so much tonight. Good Lord. Yeah, you got caught up from the con. Hey, you wanted to see me at the con. No, I like that. I would like the idea. I have been meaning to upgrade my tech and stuff like that. And I kid you not, I was going to go out and buy a new webcam and a set of headphones and a microphone for tonight, but just life got in the way. I'm also, me, I'm also not good at sticking with things all the time. I like to go from bing to bing. So it is my goal to stick on Super Jersey, to stick on Danger Room, to everything down to just getting back into reading new comics regularly. Because I want to say it's been like Carnage Volume 2 for me was the last one that I caught.
Oh, and Carnage was so good recently.
Yeah, and that's, I want to say, when Walmart was doing those Walmart comic packs, I was going every week and I was scooping up everyone. I've got hundreds just still sitting in the packs back here. And I remember going through some of the King in Blacks and stuff like that. And it was nice. It was so nice reading those one-off issues, but a run that I've literally, we're talking 2016 Carnage run was, I think, the last one that I think I went through. What was that, 15, 20 issues or something like that? That was the only one. And it is now 2025. So having my ear to the ground with so many new artists, I hear about what they're releasing and what's coming up, and I get to ingest a little bit of it through digital means and things like that. But I don't have a local comic shop that gets in new comics down here by Atlantic City. That doesn't exist here. So the idea of being kind of like more on the pulse of what's going on, I don't hate it. I would love to try and come back every now and then, as long as you have 9 hours to hear me talk.
You have an open seat, but I will cut you off more often.
This is my mulligan. I get this one.
This was for you. I really wanted to hear what the behind the scenes was like as a person who got to kind of tiptoe behind the scenes. But I do think that as long as you have the availability, whenever we record, you've got a seat. So
appreciate that. Thank you.
Update your stuff first. But no, go. I appreciate your time. I appreciate all of the stories, and I know you got to get back to your family. So thank you once again for joining us, and hopefully this is a more common occurrence. And I cannot wait to see what next year's all about. And if you want ideas, I'm sure we've got plenty.
Yeah. I like the idea of let's start. I'll start timing some announcements that maybe we announce on this podcast for the show. Like if you want to hear it first, you got to tune in here. Something like that.
Look at you, mwah.
Gems, just throwing gems.
Yeah. There's all over. Yeah.
We'll go get some rest. Give the family the love, and you are awesome as always.
No, you
missed you and happy to have you back.
Good seeing you guys. Thank you.
Thank you,
Later, Bob.
Paul.
I want to talk shit on you. Get out of here.
We told him to wait.
What?
Already,
Upload.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to make these next couple things very quick because I didn't realize that was going to be an hour and a half. So, first off, Ryan Reynolds is rumored to be writing a Deadpool X-Men team-up movie that apparently he is not going to be a big aspect of. He's only going to be a side character surrounded by 3 other X-Men that is not necessarily designed to take place. The movie is being written, not necessarily pitched to Marvel. We don't know if that's going to be a thing, but fingers crossed. And I love the idea of Deadpool becoming just this side character in a lot of Marvel projects moving forward. As like even the new cameo would be kind of fun.
I don't know where I heard it, but I could have swore I heard it's going to be a stop motion.
No, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that's going to happen at all.
I think it was just his voice.
Yeah, I don't think that's true.
Yeah.
No.
You're going to have sources on that one, pal. The Hollywood Reporter was talking about that he's in the process of writing it, but it's nothing's confirmed. It's just they know that he's working on this this pitch. So yeah, that one, and then the last little bit here, as far as news, because I mentioned in the beginning, was that Jeremy Renner is out for Hawkeye season 2 because they told that man they'd pay him half for season 2. Especially knowing what he just went through and how hard he would have to work to do that role properly. They offered him half, so he was like, I'm out. So that's wild.
He literally died.
I mean,
right. And so, I mean, look, I get it's not our money, but, you have it.
I think after the negotiations for the upcoming 2 movies, there may be a show coming.
I hope so.
It better be.
Well, to be honest, this is what I mean. He's known this once before when RDJ pretty much told the whole original 6, no, don't accept what they offer, right? And then everybody said, well, I don't know if we're going to come back for more Avengers movies. Yeah, they all got what they.
You know who else is on that list I said earlier today?
Who?
What?
Terrence Howard.
You're kidding me, right?
I'm totally kidding.
Oh,
Stop playing with me, man.
That would have.
Come on, man.
Come on, man.
Come on, man.
He's on his geometry kick right now. He's reinventing math. He doesn't have time for the MCU.
Jeez.
All right, let's get into some of the viewer request stuff. The first one we have is James JCU 3274, who would love to hear us talk more about the Superman movie, which we have talked about a lot in previous issues, so feel free to go back on that. But why don't we round robin real quick and give our thoughts on what we're expecting, hoping, fears, just anything that comes to mind when we bring up the Superman movie. And I'm going to throw someone under the bus. Huey.
Ooh. Wow.
Yeah, throw me in the bus.
You're first.
I'm excited for it. I want to see where it goes. Everything I've seen so far in all the trailers, it's been great. Yes, Moshko.
He made a post the other day stating that we haven't even seen the first trailer yet.
What? I'm sorry. What now?
We saw like a whole special.
Yeah.
We see the behind
Apparently,
the scenes.
it's not the official trailer.
These are teasers.
I guess.
Gone again.
Okay.
Well, to be fair, we don't know the story, and usually the trailer gives you a tidbit of what the story is going to
True.
be. So
True.
I get it. All
I
right.
get what you're saying, but no, I'm excited for it. The more that does come out, just gets me more hyped for it.
All right, Buzz.
Moshko, you're up next.
Nope, Buzz.
I'm in the same boat.
I think believe in James Gunn. He showed you what he could do with Guardians, and you know what I mean. He's going to do it again.
All right, love it. All right, Moshko, same boat. Go ahead.
I said I'm in the same boat.
I was hoping it would be different. All right, features, go ahead.
I'm excited for it, and I also think that with this Superman movie, it might be a change in the tide for comic book movies. Whereas Marvel has been at the helm, leading the ship, I think DC is going to. I think this is going to be the beginning of DC's wave. Honestly,
I think that's not wrong, but I don't think it's going to outtake Marvel by any means. Just because we've got 2 Avengers movies, the collapse of the multiverse, we've got
The
Fantastic
only way
Four.
it'll happen is if this Superman movie appeals to the general public and not just the fans.
it's
Correct.
Superman. And I don't always say it like that, but
Gunn's good at that. I mean,
Yeah.
Gunn has been able to take things that comic fans are fans of and turn it into global hits that have their own trilogies and Christmas spin-offs. You know what I mean?
He
great
doesn't
episode.
really have a fail yet, in my
Yeah.
mind. So that's why I think
Even
it does
Brightburn.
all.
oh yeah, boom.
I love Brightburn.
Brightburn rules, man.
Yeah, so good.
Yeah.
So good. Such a shame we didn't get the rest of that story.
I know.
Yeah.
I think I've said it a million times. I'm super excited for the Superman movie. Super duper excited. Just for the fact that we're getting crypto alone gives me tingles like I'm watching an ASMR video, man. I love me some crypto. fact that Crypto is making his live action debut as an uncontrollable hound. I love it. I'm very excited for what they're doing, and honestly, everybody who's nitpicking over the stupidest things, like, oh my God, there's blue reflecting off the snow, or oh, his eyes are too far apart because it's a wide-angle lens. It's like, God, guys, stop trying to find reasons to be mad and enjoy your life a little bit.
But he's flying like Space Christ.
It's the best. Like, I've never. It amazes me. We went through such a drought of comic fans not having anything, and then we got like bastardized versions of things, and we were like, "Well, it's kind of cool. I can't believe they're doing that." And then we got the MCU, and we were like, "This is the greatest era of comic fandom ever."
Yeah.
And then now all of a sudden it's like, well, this sucks because there's blue underneath his hand, and that the light wouldn't be reflecting off the snow like that because of how the blue is around him. And obviously that snow on his back is fake, and I can't believe how bad that shot looked. Like, good Lord. That's all you focused on in that stupid trailer? Just go watch the Snyder movies once more and then leave me alone.
Stay out of the comments.
No, these were full videos. People doing like essay
wow.
breakdowns on. Like,
Stay out of that.
You gotta be kidding me. To me, a lot of those videos at this point are just getting to finding a reason to be upset and then going, well, I know a lot of people like it, but here's all the reasons why it sucks. And it's like,
Yeah, well,
God, just give
It's
it
cold clickbait.
give
That's
it
all
a
it is.
rest. I know, but I miss everyone just being excited. I miss that so much.
Everyone's a
And I-
critic.
That's not the world we live in, unfortunately.
Well, everyone's
Sure.
a critic, but everyone's critiquing weird aspects. Like, do you guys do we all forget what 25 years ago was like? You know what I mean? Like, we
Yeah.
didn't have a lot to be excited for as comic book fans. We
We got
had
something coming out all the time now.
Yeah. This year alone, I remember us saying, wow, we were getting fed, and we're going to eat good.
It's
no.
it's the bullshit stuff that they're nitpicking on is to try and get out that white noise because everyone's nitpicking on the same thing. So these guys are trying to pick on something different to, you know,
I
get
look.
their
I'm not
videos
saying
to
like,
clicks.
there's
That's
this
it.
really
I don't-
weird thing that I am noticing though is there's this small like niche or group of like individuals who are being overly excited and happy about things. So,
right. They're called the shills. They've got their name too.
right, but
Of course,
it's
there's this infighting between the two.
but it seems like a lot of that, at least in my timeline, is shifting to that. Maybe because I'm being more positive about things and I'm not, complaining. So, that we'll
No,
stay in our lane.
I
We'll
do think
celebrate
that there are
things.
people that have a hard time being honest because they want to get invited to Disney events. I do think that that's true, and I think that is a fair
yeah.
criticism. But I do think it's bizarre to find hate in everything that comes out, especially when we went through Phase 1, Phase 2, Phase 3, and Phase 4 of Marvel that weren't all hits. We all remember Age of Ultron wasn't the greatest movie, and then everyone acts like it's a cult classic now, but we had fun because it was Ultron. Right?
Yeah.
It was a
Yeah.
fun movie. It wasn't the best Marvel movie. Iron Man 3, not the best Marvel movie. Thor 2, not the best Marvel movie. I mean, every one of these franchises has a negative mark. But we
You know
all
what's funny about
found... Go ahead.
But the negative comment, negative comments. What's funny about it is, and speaking of like Comic Cons with Paul and everything, and doing lots of Comic Cons, and talking to lots of people for years at Comic Cons about comics, people get to seem smarter if they can hate on it. It's like you don't know why I like it this way or that way, though. They get to be individualized by the negativity. And so they get to stand out by having the negative opinion as someone who is supposed to know something about something. Versus,
that makes a lot of sense.
Versus just enjoying the content for entertainment, which is what it is. You know what I mean? Like, people do it to me. Like, I'll say I like something, and then they'll just go right to the negative comment why they don't like it. And I'm always like, yeah, but I like this about it because of this and that and that. And we go, like, back and forth until it neutralizes, because I didn't just, like, pale to their supreme knowledge of why it's bad for whatever reason. You know what I mean? Like, it's posturing to be smart about something that you're a drive-by fan of. And that's my take on it.
Like,
What a line. Posturing because you're a sideline fan. Wow. And let me just make sure I say this again. I said this earlier, but because I'm not a person who likes to blame fans, but I do think that there is a truth to what Buzz just said, is that it became cool to not like it because that expectation got so high that when we weren't meeting people's expectation, they started looking for things to be upset about instead of just being excited that we're getting Thor 2.
Right, and it avalanches, like the negativity avalanches, and they know that, and then they get sectored out into groups of pro and con, and now you have an identity. I'm part of this group that doesn't like this for this reason, and it's like now you're someone. Before, you were just a fan.
We would all agree Batman v Superman is not a good movie.
Correct.
Right.
But I've said a million times, I would rather live in a world where Batman v Superman exists than them never try and make it in the first place.
It's
I would
documented.
have rather than try to make a better one.
Sure, sure.
But it exists, and we got it.
But something is, again, like we were saying to Paul, sometimes you got to make a 3 to
Right.
figure out what
right,
it takes to
you're
make a 7. You know,
Everything's a work in progress.
Right. Well, and Superman, the new one, Superman, James Gunn's Superman, might be a success in more ways than the Snyder's Superman ever could have been because he can learn from those previous movies. Go ahead, Moshko.
No, just I think Features was just about to tap out on us.
No.
All right,
I would rather live in a world where we have a 2-hour show where
Right.
we're all awake.
Yeah, right. All right, fine. Here, let's move on to Tara. That's actually for Tara. Tara said she said not for the show, but guess what? It's on the show. Any tips for finding a new comic shop, not just locally? Well, Paul kind of brought this up as well. I'm going to just make this little tidbit. Soon, hopefully very soon, Comic Universe will be a shop that you can order from around the world. More on that
Nice.
later, but Comic Universe is
Coming soon.
coming soon is definitely
Also,
trying to be a
A
non
mailbox
just
near
Delco.
you.
Comic Shop Locator is a very popular site for finding like your local comic shop.
That's a great idea.
You put your zip code in.
I mean,
That's a great idea. And definitely support your local comic shops, but also make sure Comic Universe is one of those websites you check on a regular
Sorry.
basis.
and if you're traveling, you can use Apple Maps. They just type in local
There you
comic
go.
shops, and it'll pop up.
You guys do that too when you go to someplace new, and that's the first thing you type into Apple
Yep.
Maps. It's just like, what's in this area?
That's right after I pull up Chinese food near me.
All right, then the next one is I wish I ever had something more specific, but I'm just excited to hear the news. Well, you got a lot of news. You got a whole lot of news, Tara. So I feel like we made it there. Let's real quick. I don't even want to do this, but we got to do Free Comic Book Day. I'm going to go through my list real quick. Marvel's pretty good. Spider-Man, but the Ultimate crossover looks great. Spider-Man felt like a good return to form, but we already kind of saw that. But the Ultimate Universe crossover with Miles going back home or being invited back home by the maker seems like it's a very interesting idea. And I really like the way they portrayed Miles, especially something that we've all talked about a lot with Miles getting too many power upgrades and his life feeling too chaotic. Part of the reason why he wants to go home. What's that? Do that thing? Are you telling me to do that thing?
That's great.
That's what I thought you were saying. All right, Transformers Ballpoint.
No, go ahead. Keep
Really
going.
good. I enjoyed that. Really, I love the
Yes.
Decepticon of Ballpoint, the tiny little Transformers robot. That I can't wait for him to get his own series. A lot of fun.
Let's go.
Behind the Trees Where Nobody Sees has another book coming out. Was a lot of fun. 30 Days of Night also is in that same Free Comic Book Day. A lot of fun. VR Troopers is weird, but it's VR Troopers, so I'm going to get it no matter what. Star Wars, the new #1 was a lot of fun, and they also did the Legacy of Kylo. Gave us a background of a character that is very bizarre, but somewhat cool. Big Rig, the Post Malone book, started phenomenal, and then the truck came, and I was like, all right, this is dumb. So I hope that picks up. At the beginning of that story with the weird demon zombie things was great, but then all of a sudden they're like praying for an angel, and a big rig kills everybody, and you're like,
Not like Overdrive.
huh? All right.
Is it Overdrive?
Overdrive with Sylvester Stallone.
No.
Maximum Overdrive.
Maximum
Yeah.
The one
Overdrive.
that Stephen King directed.
Yep.
Absolute Universe has a crossover coming over with the all-in standard DC universe. We find out because we meet the Absolute Universe. We meet the Absolute version of Mirror Master, who's watching all the events take place for all the other heroes, and he's learning who they are. And then he runs into the standard continuities Mirror Master, who's like, you tell me about your world, I'll tell you about mine.
Wow.
So be kind of a cool crossover where the villains get to learn about each other and then kind of, I don't know,
Yeah.
seems like it'd be a lot of fun. Fantastic Four, it was okay. Giant Size X-Men was really fun, and I'll tell you what.
I'm sorry. Say that again.
Giant Size X-Men, number 1.
The X-Men part.
Yes.
X-Men was actually good?
Yeah.
Hey.
Well, no. Not only was it good, Cyclops was outstanding. Cyclops kicks everyone's ass. Storm,
Lance?
everyone. I'm telling you, he does. And it's really, really good. But it's also for this new celebration of these books that are coming out, that Kamala Khan is going through the different time periods of the X-Men and experiencing what it would be like if she was there. So this is the Giant Size X-Men number 1, where you meet the first team, and it's Cyclops just whooping the piss out of that first team. It's really, really good. And then there was a weird book of Wolverpool versus Wolverpool
Bedverine.
and Deadverine. And it's a couple in the real world who somehow wish to become comic book characters, at least the husband does, and they both get turned into these versions of Deadpool and Wolverine that are mixed up. And I was like, this is stupid. The whole time I was like, this is a dumb book, and it's very meta. She's more like Gwenpool, like she literally leaves the panel at one point, and then they're like, where are we? Maybe this book will be worth something, and we can get in the MCU, and then we'll become real again. And they find out it's new free comic book day, and he freaks out, and he's like, this sucks. No one's going to care about this book. And then he was like, and his wife starts killing people indiscriminately, and she's like, I'm so sorry, I won't do that anymore. And he's like, that's cool, you shouldn't, because these characters mean a lot to me. And then all of a sudden, Mary Jane walks out on a date with Paul. And, the book goes, all right, well, maybe you can kill one more person. And that's the book. Yes! The book is Wolverpool and Deadverine kill Paul. If you don't know who Paul is, Paul's the worst thing that ever happened to Spider-Man in a long time. Worst thing to happen to Spider-Man since Brand New Day. Worst thing to happen since losing the marriage. I mean, since corporatizing him. Anyway, that was New Comic Book Day. Other than that, Ultimate Spider-Man. Damn.
Oh yeah.
Damn.
Ultimate Spider-Man was wild.
I know, but we're at
so
2
wild.
hours and we got to stop the show. Like, we have to stop this. But there's so much because Ultimate Black Panther was great. Godzilla vs. Spider-Man sucked, but yeah. And then Batman Last Halloween was also really good. This was a good week for books, even though there was not a lot out. But Ultimate Spider-Man, my God, was so good.
Ooh, doggy.
Did not expect that twist.
At all.
You know what? Let's save it. Let's save it
Okay.
for next week. We'll do a bigger breakdown next week. Let's just save it. I didn't say what happened. I didn't spoil anything. We can save that one. Are you okay with that, Moshko? He's got.
I'm good. Yeah, I read that, man.
I was going to go for like another
Some
4 hours.
mysterious book.
Stop it. You stop it right there. You stop it right there, Fishbowl. Knock it off. All right. Well, that was my little tangent. I think I fit everything in.
Now,
Do that thing.
Do that thing.
Did anyone miss anything? Did anyone have anything else they want to say or promote or talk about it? Anybody? Buzz, you got
Just-
something?
Energon Universe was great.
I'm good, man.
Buzz got something really cool, and I'm going to say it if he's not. He's got some covers coming out, and he will be at Comic Universe when that happens. I don't know if I'm allowed to say it. I don't know if that's
Yeah,
the
you
thing I'm
can.
allowed to say. All right, cool. Do you guys remember Ghoulies? You guys remember Ghoulies?
They'll get you in the end.
Yeah.
Yo, I remember on this show trying so hard to explain Ghoulies, and I was like, no, they're little monsters that come out of the toilet. You've seen this cover. You've seen the cover. And then all of a sudden, Buzz sends us a picture of the monsters coming out of the toilet, and it just took me back. It took me back to
Never drawn a toilet
Blockbuster.
on a comic cover before.
You said
I'm
it was
looking at
the
my
best
career
toilet
like,
you've
how
ever
did I
drawn.
get here? I'm just drawing toilets now.
Yeah, but it's for a franchise that
Yeah.
deserves a little love. It's one of the most ridiculous movies. It reminds me a lot of Puppet Masters. It's
I
just
love that B-grade horror. You know
It's
that.
such a good B-grade horror movie. It's so stupid. I love it. I love it so much. And I love that you're doing the covers for that. And so, yeah,
excited.
definitely be on the lookout. He will be at Comic Universe when those drop.
Buzz, are you going to be down at Baltimore next weekend or this weekend?
The Comic-Con or
Yeah.
Monster Mania?
Monster Mania.
Oh,
this
Monster
weekend.
Mania.
Yeah,
Never
I'm
mind.
at Monster Mania. That's what we should promote. Yeah, at Monster Mania, May 9th, 10th, 11th, at the Harbor Hilton, and we've got big guests there: Kingpin, Vincent D'Onofrio, the Lost Boys reunion, a bunch of other stuff. Halloween 3. I'll be there all weekend.
Sweet.
Go say hi.
Go
Yes.
say hi.
Come hang,
Tickle his beard.
please.
Oh man, so you could pull off the Vincent D'Onofrio down in Baltimore, and then a week later, Charlie Cox at Fan Expo, 2 weekends, all of Daredevil, one shot.
Oh wait, is that that's Fan Expo's not this weekend? It's next weekend.
16th, 17th.
Yes.
Yeah,
All
next
right.
It's the following. Yep.
Hey, we got press passes, baby.
Nice.
We're stopping by there. So yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff coming around,
Yep.
and not only that, we have so many features, interviews coming. So be on the lookout for that. As you've seen, Moshko's been killing it on YouTube. We'll find all the long form videos there, and I will
Subscribe.
I'll
Yeah.
chop them up and make
I'm
them
just
sound
gonna
good
say it
on the short
every
ones.
post. Subscribe.
Yeah, smash that subscribe button.
Like,
Leave
comment.
leave your favorite
Leave
comic.
your mark on our
your mark.
account.
Your favorite free comic book day comic in the comments. 'cause we
Meant to
never
do that thing.
What's you got to do a call to action? Isn't it like YouTube 101?
Yeah,
Yes.
something like that.
Something
Yeah.
Frequently.
You can find the show at That
Early.
Comic Podcast
Like,
everywhere
comment,
online.
subscribe.
You can just cut what he said. Just cut it in a bunch of times. Just randomly cut it in.
You made it this far.
You can find the show at That Comic Podcast everywhere online. That's at That Comic Podcast, your social media choice. Unless it's Twitter, it's at That Comic Pod. But again, ThatComicPodcast.com is the best place to go where you'll find all the great stuff. Support the show by grabbing some merch. Once again, I'm Minty.
Moshko.
Features.
I'm Huey.
I'm Buzz.
And the dude who talked for a very long time. Oh, love me some Paul. All right, deuces, ladies and gentlemen.
Excelsior.